Welcome people. I'm Prachurja and let's continue with our lectures on calculus. So I just explained the basics of calculus and how calculus was derived in my last lecture. Today we'll start with differentiation. I'll just go through the basics of differentiation because differentiation is a lot more extensive than we think because uh, uh, as we talked about multivariate calculus, it consists a lot of things about multivariate calculus, but I'm just going through the things that we need in physics. And I would be uploading lectures on calculus level 2 um, in my next videos, but today we'll go through the basics only. Also, one more thing that we have started a stop making robots campaign in which we just want people to love studies rather than just rote learning or going through studies like that, which is very frequent in India. So I would just like you to support this cause and tweet us at hashtag stop making robots, so we know that a lot of people are involved. And let's continue with the lecture. Well, uh, in I teach lectures with all the fun I could, and not rote learning. Like I want you to love calculus. I want you to love maths and physics rather than rote learning. So that's why my lectures seem to get a lot of good response, and thank you so much for all of that. Then let's start. Let's not waste time and let's start. So today we're going to learn about differentiation. So in the last lecture, as I told you, the differentiation is when, like, I gave an example of a rod, and when I divide it into many parts, and when we put it in a small part, that is differentiation. We differentiate each and other part of that. So that's what differentiation is. Now, when we differentiate things, we get a small part of it. Like in the rod example, we had a small part of it. So the small part is called the derivative of that, right? When we divide that thing, we get a derivative of that. So when we differentiate a function, then we get a derivative of that, and that derivative is the rate of change of one variable with respect to another at a point. Now, in my last lecture, as I told you, the rate of change of y with respect to x is delta y by delta x. So that is what is the rate of change of a variable with respect to another variable. Right? Here the delta y is the change in y. Like if we are going from a value 3 to 5, then y is equal y1 is equal to 3 and y2 is equal to 5, then the delta y is 2 here. So that's what is the change, right? Now let's say that y somehow is a function of x, or like it depends upon x. So what is the rate of change of y with respect to x? And when x changes, how much does y change? That is given by the derivative of the rate of change of x. Now let's say we need an exact rate of change of a certain value. Let's say, like, we move back to physics and we say that there's a road and there's a car crossing over that. We say that the road is around 3 kilometers and it takes the person around 1 hour to cross that road. So the speed of that body, if we say, is speed upon distance, distance upon time, and that is 3 kilometer per hour. So what if the car first is going very fast, then it breaks down and goes slow, and then it again goes fast, but still it covers a distance of 3 kilometers in 1 hour? When we can say that average speed is 3 kilometers per hour, but the speed is not constant on each part of the road. So that's where this rate of change at a certain value comes in picture, and which is called the instantaneous rate of change. And the instantaneous rate of change, as I discussed, is the instantaneous speed is given by ds by dt, and here it is given by dy by dx. Like, we want to find the exact rate of change of y with respect to x at a certain value of x, then it is the dy by dx at that point. Now what is the definition of dy? Now dy, as I have written, is limit delta y approaches 0 delta y. Now here delta y approaches 0 does not mean that x equal to a. That means limit x approaches to a does not mean that x equal to a, or limit delta y approaches 0 does not mean delta y approaches to 0 equal to 0, but it approaches 0, like it is 0.00000001. like that quantity. It is 10 to the power minus 36, it is 10 to the power minus 37, or smaller than that, more smaller than that. So that what approaches me that we are getting closer and closer to the value. The same way with dx, the limit dx is equal to limit delta x approaches 0 delta x. We try to limit the change as small as we can, so we can calculate the rate of change at that point. Because let us suppose that we need to find the rate of change of x at 2. Now we take a value 3. So what is the rate of delta x? The delta x is 1. And when we take we want to take the rate of change at 3, and we take 3.1. So that is 0.1. So the more exact rate of change will come at 3. So that's what we want here. Let us move on. Let's say we have a graph here and this is some f of x, and I want to find the rate of change at x1. I want to find the rate of change at x1 here, right? So I take two values x2 and x3 and I find the delta x. I then plot see the y values of these x2 and x3, and what I get is delta y. I divide both of these and I get the rate of change as delta y by delta x. But we see that the rate of the graph is a little parabolic type, so the rate of change is not this. The rate of change is not the rate of change between x2 and x3 is not the rate of change at x1. So now the rate of change at x1 can be calculated by moving x2 and x3 towards x1. So more x2 comes towards x1, the delta x decreases, right? The more is the instantaneous rate of change is more approximated, and when delta x reaches approximately near delta x1, like at this point, let's say it comes at this point here, it comes at this point, then we can say it has approximately reached it. And when it reaches around say x1 plus 10 to the power minus 36, we can say it is more approach. So we need more and more smaller values. There is no limit to smaller values. I can say there is something like 10 to the power minus infinity. So that is the value we need, and obviously 10 to the power minus infinity is not defined. So that is the value we need here, so that we can approximate the rate of change at that point, and that rate of change is called dy by dx. Now you have understood that how we calculate the rate of change. The rate of change is calculated by the value at x3 minus the value of x2 divided by x3 minus x2, right? Now that is what the first principle says. Now the first principle, let us suppose that let's first discuss about the indeterminate forms. Now indeterminate form are the form that we cannot say what is the value of those forms, right? Now let's talk about 0 by 0. First of all, we know that 0 upon 1 or 0 by any number is 0, and 1 upon 0 or any number upon 0 is infinity. So when I divide 0 by 0, what will it come out to be? Will it come out to be 0 or will it come out to be infinity? So that's an indeterminate form. We cannot tell that what will be equal to. It will be equal to 0 or infinity or any other number. In many cases, in most of the cases, 0 by 0 tends to be other number except 0 and infinity. The same way is infinity by infinity. It may turn out to be any number other than 0 and infinity. Next is 0 into infinity. Now obviously 0 into infinity can be infinity as well as it can be 0. But normally it is treated as 0, but in many cases it has been seen that it may tend to any other number except 0 and infinity. Now also we have 0 to the power 0. Now we know that any number to the power 0 is 1, and 0 to the power any number is 0. So what is 0 to the power 0? We cannot tell it. We need to find out using different conditions that how these forms can be identified and the number can be treated out. So these are the indeterminate forms. Now let's move on to the first principle. The first principle, let us suppose that y is a variable and it is a function of x, like it contains a term of x. So the derivative dy by dx, the derivative dy by dx is limit delta x approaches 0 delta y upon delta x. Now let us say I change delta x by h. So what we saw that when there is x2 and I add delta x into that, I get x3. So let x3 the delta x be h. Therefore x2 plus h is x3. And what does the rate of change signify? The rate of change signified f of x3 minus f of x2 upon x3 minus x2. So that is f of x2 plus h minus f of x2 upon h. So what did I say? That like we had the graph here and I took 2 points x2 and x3, right? So what I'm saying is that the rate of change, let's say I do delta y by del x, the rate of change is equal to let's say y3 minus y2 over x3 minus x2. So what it is? What it is? F of x3 f of x3 minus f of x2 minus f of x2 divided by x3 minus x2, right? So that is the main part. Now what is x3? Let's write it in new this. So what we have is delta y by delta x is equal to f of x3 minus f of x2 upon x3 minus x2, right? So what we have that we add delta x to x2. So x3 has become x2 plus delta x. So we have f x2 plus delta x minus f of x2 upon delta x, because x3 minus x2 is equal to delta x. So we have put delta x. Now we try to minimize the difference between the two values, and what we do, we just apply a small operation called limit. We limit the value of delta x to 0. What we do this, limit delta x approaches 0, and we get f of x3 plus delta x minus f of x3 x2 here it should be x2, okay, upon delta x, right? So that where, and now I substitute delta x by h. So what will I get? I will get limit h tends to 0, and let us suppose that at any value I want to find it. So I replace x2 by x, and it is f of x plus h minus f of x over h. So that is the derivative of anything. Like I write dy by dx is equal to limit h tends to 0 f of x plus h minus f of x over h. So that's what I have written here, limit f x plus h minus f of x plus h. So that is what is the derivative, and it's called the first principle of differentiation, right? Now for example, let us take that y is equal to some constant where m is a constant times some x. So we find the derivative of that of this function or y at any x, right? So we have limit x f of x plus h minus h as per the first principle. We put the values here. We put x plus h in terms of x and minus mx. We open up this bracket here. We open up this bracket and we get mx plus mh minus mx. Now what happens is that you will say that when we put h equal to 0, let us say we put h equal to 0, then the form is 0 by 0. We cannot tell what is the value of that, as we say about indeterminate forms. So what we do, we open it up and we cut mx and mx, and when there is left we have mh upon h, and we cut h and h, right? We divide h and h, so we get m. So what is the derivative of a function like y is equal to mx, a straight line function at any point? It is equal to m, and by consequence it comes out to be the slope of the line. Like if we consider it to be a straight line, it comes out to be a slope of the line, which we will see